One of the key themes which emerges from Pacem in Terris is the notion of solidarity. It's there both implicitly and explicitly throughout the document. The word itself doesn't appear very often itself, but what we today term, in terms of Catholic social thought, the principle of solidarity, in much more elaborated forms, permeates the entire encyclical. Solidarity in the subsequent Catholic social tradition, then, flows out of the vision we see in Pacem in Terris. Solidarity with the poor, the oppressed, marginalised, vulnerable, those within and without our communities. Catholic social thought is thereby put into practice through solidarity, giving a practical answer to the question put to Jesus, in the answer to which he told the parable of the Good Samaritan, Lord, who is my neighbour? Solidarity entails a collective stand against persecution, inequality, intolerance, discrimination, a sharing of resources, the offering of active support, courage on behalf of those in need. All of these, now standard elements of the Catholic social approach, can be seen articulated there in a new context-oriented fashion in Pacem in Terris. When you go back through the document again, you see that it foreshadows and anticipates so much that has happened in the world of theology and social ethics since. Throughout, you see really a vision that we would later call global ethics. The notion of public theology appears in every section of that. It's not there explicitly, of course, but what we today discuss in public theology is there in Pacem in Terris. Political theology, aspects of liberation theology, it anticipates the option for the poor. All of these are part of the great legacy of Pacem in Terris. But what about a further implicit legacy? What about human rights in the Church? I believe there is one further and major legacy that Pacem in Terris has left in terms of the social and ecclesiological vision it reflected and helped articulate, and therefore also in terms of the ecclesial conscientiation it helped usher in. And of course, I refer to a topic that's become controversial, yet which was one that generated so much great hope and energy, as well as pastoral, cultural, and intellectual activity in the Church of the time. As with many aspects of the legacy of Pacem in Terris outlined so far this morning, this factor of church life cannot be attributable, of course, just to this one document alone, even in the main. Many other factors before and in the immediate years following the encyclical's release would play hugely significant roles too. But Pacem in Terris deserves special credit, which it does not often get, because it did let another genie out of the bottle, and perhaps this was intentionally so on the part of both Pope John and Pietro Pavan, who drafted the document. So this is the issue, of course, of human rights in the Church, and related issues of democracy, participation, and co-responsibility in the Church. The achievements of Pacem in Terris depend in large part upon its upholding of the supreme right of humans to be able to follow their conscience. Related to this, although the word is not mentioned itself, we see a fairly explicit affirmation of the ancient principle, or perhaps it would be better termed virtue, of epikeia, or equity, and therefore of dissent with regard to civil and political authorities. No law or societal structures and practices which are contrary to the moral order must be obeyed or accepted. All of this has subsequently been taken as an implicit affirmation of the rights of Catholics in the Church, despite the crushing responses to dissent from the end of the 1970s through to the present day almost. This genie too can never be put back into the bottle. Increasingly throughout the 1960s and beyond, although more precariously in recent times than before, Catholics have taken the moral, social and canonical principles and teaching of the Church's own rich traditions and applied them ad intra to the life and relations within the Church itself. I believe Pacem in Terris helped create much energy, inspiration and support for this too. Peter Hebblethwaite, the great biographer of Pope John, equates a phrase from John's diary 10 days before he died, which Professor Maloney has also referred to today, that, to quote, "It is not that the gospel has changed, it is that we have begun to understand it better." Hebblethwaite equates this with Dave Verbum's discourse on the evolving development of our understanding of what is passed down through the Church. I think this helps support the thesis that Pope John knew exactly what he was doing in embracing rights discourse and would have been fully conscious of its implications for life inside the Church itself. So much good can flow if we rediscover the potential of Pacem in Terris for promoting and proclaiming as well as defending human rights today, as much within the Church as beyond it. Can we now attend to this in order that the church may better defend rights in every corner of society around the globe.